First Contact Protocol. Admiral Helena Chen stood at the observation deck of the UES Prometheus, her weathered hands clasped behind her back, as she watched the swirling quantum distortions in space. After 30 years in the United Earth Fleet, she thought she'd seen everything. She was wrong. The Valkyrie ship materialized like liquid mercury pooling in space, its bioorganic hull rippling with iridescent patterns that defied conventional physics. It was beautiful, terrifying, and completely alien. The first official contact between humanity and an advanced civilization was about to begin, and Helena couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. Admiral. Lieutenant Sarah Rodriguez's voice came through the neural link. Their quantum signature matches the probes we detected in the Kuiper Belt. Same civilization, but this is definitely a diplomatic vessel. Helena nodded, though her crew couldn't see her. The Valkyrie had been watching humanity for months, their stealth probes nearly undetectable, if not for the quantum fluctuations they created. Earth scientists had spotted them by accident while testing new quantum detection arrays. The fact that humanity could detect their surveillance had apparently prompted this formal contact. Status of the defense grid. Helena subvocalized through the neural link. Ghost protocol active, Admiral. Our automated defense platforms are quantum shifted and undetectable. If this goes south, we can have the entire Sol system locked down in 30 seconds. Helena allowed herself a small smile. The Valkyrie might think they were meeting with a nascent spacefaring species, but humanity had learned the hard way to be prepared. The Third World War had taught them that survival demanded both innovation and paranoia in equal measure. The alien ship's surface rippled again, and a communication request pulsed through their quantum networks. Helena straightened her uniform. Accept transmission. Full encryption protocols active. The air before her shimmered as the quantum hologram took form. The Valkyrie representative appeared as a being of crystalline structures and flowing energy, its form constantly shifting like a living kaleidoscope. When it spoke, its words were translated directly into concept packets by their AI systems. Greetings, representatives of Earth. We are the Valkyrie Collective, and we come to welcome you into the greater galactic community. The being's form sparkled with what their cultural AI tagged as pleasure patterns. We have observed your remarkable progress from planetary civilization to early spacefaring status with great interest. Helena inclined her head respectfully. On behalf of the United Earth Government, we welcome you to our solar system. I am Admiral Helena Chen of the United Earth Fleet. The Valkyrie's patterns shifted to what the AI labeled as surprise. You maintain a military presence despite achieving space travel. Most species abandon such primitive institutions upon reaching this stage of development. And there it was, the condescension she'd been waiting for. Helena kept her expression neutral. We find that maintaining a defense force helps us sleep better at night. Old habits, I suppose. The Valkyrie's form rippled with amusement. Of course, such concerns will soon be unnecessary. The collective maintains peace throughout governed space. Your species will no longer need to worry about defense once you accept our guidance. Helena felt her throat tighten. Guidance? Indeed. Your species has shown remarkable progress, but you are still young. The collective will help accelerate your development along proper evolutionary paths. For instance, we notice you still rely heavily on biological neural systems augmented by primitive digital technology. We can help you transcend such limitations. Through her neural link, Helena received urgent updates from her science team. The Valkyrie ship was scanning them extensively, its quantum sensors probing their vessel, their bodies, their technology. She let them. Every scan they performed was being analyzed and countertraced by Earth's quantum AI systems. That's a generous offer, Helena replied carefully. However, humanity has always preferred to chart its own course. The Valkyrie's patterns shifted to what the AI couldn't quite translate, something between pity and concern. Admiral, you misunderstand. This is not an offer. The collective has guided the evolution of thousands of species. It is our duty to ensure proper development and prevent dangerous divergences from established paths. Helena's neural link buzzed with emergency signals. The science team had detected something in the Vakari scans, attempts to access and modify their quantum networks, subtle manipulations aimed at their neural implants. If the aliens were surprised by humanity's quantum technology, they clearly thought it primitive enough to easily hack. They didn't realize that humanity's quantum systems were based on principles fundamentally different from the standard galactic approach. While the Vakari had evolved toward perfect efficiency and predictability, humanity had embraced chaos theory and quantum uncertainty, building systems that were messy, redundant, and impossible to cleanly access. "I see," Helena said, buying time as her crew quietly activated additional countermeasures. "And if we feel we're not ready for such guidance." The Vakari's form crystallized slightly, its patterns becoming more rigid. "Ready or not, it is necessary. Your species' development is dangerously unstable. You maintain military forces. You integrate technology with biology in chaotic ways. You explore quantum mechanics through a primitive lens of uncertainty, rather than embracing proper deterministic models. These divergences must be corrected." Helena felt a cold anger settle in her chest. She'd heard this kind of talk before in Earth's history. The civilized explaining to the primitive why they needed to be forcibly enlightened. It never ended well for either side. "With respect," she said, her voice hard, "humanity's chaotic nature is not a flaw to be corrected. It is the source of our strength, our creativity, and our survival. We appreciate your offer of guidance, but we must decline." The Vakari's form suddenly expanded, its patterns becoming sharp and aggressive. "You do not understand your position, Admiral. The collective does not permit dangerous divergences. Your acceptance is not required." Multiple quantum surges erupted from the Vakari vessel. Attempts to forcibly access and modify Earth's defense systems, communication networks, and even the neural implants of Helena's crew. If humanity's technology had developed along standard galactic paths, it would have worked perfectly. But humanity's quantum systems were built on uncertainty and chaos. The Vakari's precise, deterministic attacks scattered against quantum encryption that changed randomly at a fundamental level. Their attempts to access neural implants met systems that were purposefully messy and redundant, biological and digital systems intertwined in ways that defied their elegant models. Helena allowed herself a grim smile as the attacks washed harmlessly against humanity's chaotic defenses. "I was afraid you might say that. Now, allow me to show you why humanity's divergent path might be more advanced than you think." She subvocalized the command that activated the quantum-shifted defense grid. Across the solar system, hundreds of automated platforms phased into normal space, their weapons locked on the Vakari vessel. Each platform utilized different technologies, different principles, a chaotic mix of approaches that made them impossible to counter all at once. "This is your only warning," Helena said to the clearly shocked Vakari representative. "Leave our solar system. Tell your collective that humanity declines their guidance. We will defend our right to choose our own path of development." The Vakari's form wavered between patterns of disbelief and anger. "You cannot hope to resist the collective. Our technology is centuries ahead of yours." "Perhaps by your measuring stick," Helena replied. "But we've learned that progress isn't always linear. Sometimes the primitive path, the chaotic path, the path that embraces uncertainty, that's the path that leads to true advancement. You evolved toward perfect order. We evolved to thrive in chaos. Let's not test which approach is more effective in combat." For a long moment, the Vakari ship hung in space, its surface rippling with confused patterns. Then, slowly, it began to withdraw. The representative's form sparkled with what might have been grudging respect. "The collective will not forget this defiance, Admiral Chen." "Good," Helena replied. "Remember it well. And remember that humanity will not be guided, controlled, or corrected. We are what we are, chaos and all." The Vakari ship disappeared in a quantum flash, Leaving Helena alone on her observation deck, she let out a long breath, then activated her neural link. All stations, maintain alert status, and get me a direct line to Earth Command. They need to know that the galaxy is a lot more complicated and a lot less friendly than we hoped. As she turned to leave the observation deck, Helena reflected that humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to surprise, to defy expectations, to find unprecedented solutions to impossible problems. The Vakari thought they were coming to guide a primitive species. Instead, they'd discovered that sometimes the primitive path was anything but inferior. The real question was what would happen next. Because if there was one thing humanity had learned from its own history, it was that empires rarely took kindly to being told no. But that was a problem for another day. For now, humanity had shown it could stand on its own feet. And if the Vakari or their collective decided to push the issue, they would learn that humanity's chaotic, primitive, divergent path had led them to develop some very surprising capabilities indeed. The silent defense. 6 months after the Vakari encounter, the Sol system had become a laboratory of controlled chaos. Deep within Titan's methane seas, Dr. Maya Patel watched through quantum-linked displays as her team's latest experiment unfolded. The massive chamber before her contained what appeared to be empty space, but appearances were deceiving. Quantum field stability at 97%, her assistant AI reported. Ready for the test sequence. Maya nodded, her neural implants feeding her streams of data from a dozen different sensors. Begin protocol Firefly. In the chamber, nothing visible changed. But at the quantum level, something extraordinary was happening. Particles were shifting in and out of regular spacetime, following patterns that the Vakari's deterministic systems would find impossible to track. They're going to come back, Maya muttered, mostly to herself. And when they do, they'll bring their entire collective. We need to be ready. The Titan Research Facility was just one of hundreds scattered throughout the solar system. After the Vakari's attempted forced integration, humanity had realized they needed to push their technological development in directions the collective wouldn't expect. Traditional defense strategies wouldn't work against an enemy centuries more advanced, unless those strategies operated on principles the enemy had never considered. Maya's neural link chimed with an incoming call from Earth Command. Admiral Chen's quantum-encrypted hologram appeared in her field of view. Dr. Patel, please tell me you have good news. Our long-range quantum arrays detected 3 Vakari scout ships, testing our outer system defenses last week. Maya allowed herself a small smile. They didn't find anything, did they? No, Helena admitted. Our ghost protocols worked perfectly, but they'll be back with something more sophisticated. What's the status of Project Firefly? Maya gestured, and a complex series of quantum equations filled the space between them. We've cracked it, Admiral. The Vakari's quantum technology is based on precision and predictability. They've evolved past what they consider quantum noise, the inherent uncertainty in quantum systems, but we found a way to weaponize that uncertainty. The equations shifted, showing patterns that seemed to defy logic. We're calling it quantum chaos theory. Instead of fighting uncertainty, we're embracing it, creating defensive systems that exist in a state of controlled chaos. The more precisely they try to scan or attack, the more unpredictable our systems become. Helena studied the equations with her enhanced cognition. Like trying to grab smoke with tweezers, she mused. The harder they try to grasp it, the more it slips through their fingers, Maya finished. But that's just the defensive aspect. We've also developed offensive applications. The Vakari's bioorganic ships are quantum sensitive. We can use targeted chaos fields to disrupt their systems at a fundamental level. Show me. Maya turned back to the test chamber, initiating attack sequence. In the chamber, a small piece of salvaged Vakari technology, recovered from one of their probes, hung suspended in a quantum field. Maya's team had spent months studying it, understanding how its perfectly ordered quantum systems functioned. releasing chaos pulse in 3, 2, 1. A wave of quantum distortion rippled through the chamber. To normal vision, nothing seemed to happen. But at the quantum level, the Vicari technology experienced something it was never designed to handle. True, weaponized uncertainty. Its perfectly ordered systems tried to compensate, to impose order on chaos, only to be overwhelmed by the mathematical equivalent of white noise. The piece of alien technology shuddered and went dark. Complete system failure, Maya reported. Their technology requires quantum stability to function. We can deny them that stability while our systems thrive in the chaos. Helena's hologram nodded slowly. How soon can we implement this throughout the defense grid? We've already begun. The quantum chaos fields are being integrated into all our defensive platforms. We're also developing mobile generators for the fleet. When the Vicari return, they'll find that the very principles they abandoned, uncertainty, chaos, adaptation, have become our greatest weapons. Good work, Doctor. But we need more. The collective won't take this lying down. Once they realize their standard approaches don't work, they'll adapt, Maya finished. I know. That's why we're not stopping here. She transmitted another set of equations. We're working on something even more fundamental. The Vicari see quantum mechanics as a tool, something to be controlled and directed. We're learning to see it as a partner. The equation showed something that seemed to defy the very laws of physics, at least physics as the Vicari understood them. Project Dreamcatcher. We're finding ways to work with quantum uncertainty rather than against it. Imagine ships that don't just use quantum fields, but become quantum fields. Weapons that exist in a state of probability rather than certainty. Helena's eyes widened as she grasped the implications. You're talking about taking our entire defense force out of normal space-time. Partially, Maya confirmed. Enough to make us virtually impossible to target or predict. The Vicari's greatest strength is their technological precision. We're going to make that precision meaningless. An alert pulsed through Maya's neural link. Another test sequence was ready. We're not just preparing defenses. Admiral, we're changing the rules of the game. The Vicari think they're coming to correct our primitive development. Let them come. They'll find that sometimes the primitive path leads to places their advanced evolution never imagined. Helena's hologram smiled grimly. Keep pushing, Doctor. Our scouts estimate we have 3 months at most before the collective makes its move. We need every advantage we can get. Understood. Maya turned back to her work, her mind already racing with new possibilities. The chamber before her hummed with quantum potential, a testament to humanity's unique approach to physics and evolution. The Vicari believed that progress meant moving beyond uncertainty, beyond chaos, beyond the messy realities of quantum mechanics. Humanity had chosen to embrace those elements, to find strength in adaptability rather than rigid perfection. Soon, the collective would learn which path was truly superior. Maya's neural implants fed her new data from the experiment, patterns of controlled chaos that would have given Vicari scientists nightmares. But to her, they were beautiful. Because in that chaos, she saw humanity's future. Uncertain, unpredictable, and absolutely unstoppable. Begin next test sequence, she commanded. In the chamber, quantum fields shifted and swirled, preparing to demonstrate once again that sometimes the most primitive path was the most profound. The Vicari were coming, but humanity would be ready. Not with superior technology, but with technology they would never expect. Weapons forged from uncertainty itself. Quantum counterattack. The Vicari arrived with the kind of overwhelming force that had subjugated 1,000 civilizations. Their bioorganic ships materialized in perfect formation at the edge of the Sol system, a fleet of living metal and quantum energy that turned space itself into flowing art. 300 vessels against Earth's seemingly primitive defense force of 50 ships. Admiral Helena Chen watched them through quantum-enhanced senses, her consciousness spread across multiple planes of existence through Project Dreamcatcher's neural interfaces. The Prometheus hung in high orbit around Neptune, surrounded by quantum chaos fields that made it appear as nothing more than a shimmer in space. "They're exactly where we predicted," Maya's voice echoed through the quantum link. The scientist was back on Titan, coordinating the defense grid's chaos matrices. "Their formation is too perfect, too predictable. They still think in straight lines." Helena nodded, though in her current state of quantum uncertainty, the gesture existed more as a probability than a physical action. "All ships maintain Ghost Protocol. Let them come to us." The Vicari fleet moved with precision that would have been beautiful if it wasn't so terrifying. Their ships flowed through space like liquid mercury, their quantum drives humming with power that dwarfed anything humanity had achieved through conventional means. A transmission cut through their quantum networks, encoded in the collective's standard protocols. The same crystalline being from first contact appeared, its patterns now sharp with militant purpose. "Provisional Earth Authority," it began, not bothering to wait for acknowledgement. "Your period of isolation and divergent development is over. The collective has determined that your species requires immediate intervention. Deactivate your defensive systems and prepare for integration. Resistance will only result in unnecessary losses." Helena let the transmission hang in quantum space for a long moment. When she replied, her voice carried through quantum fields in ways that made the Vicari sensors fluctuate in confusion. "This is Admiral Helena Chen of the United Earth Fleet. We've been expecting you." She paused, letting her consciousness expand through the quantum interface. "I'll give you one chance to leave. What's about to happen will be easier for everyone if you do." The Vicari's patterns shifted to something their AI labeled as contemptuous amusement. "Your species' continued defiance is irrational. Our scans show your fleet is drastically outnumbered. Your technology is centuries behind ours. The outcome is mathematically certain." "Mathematics," Helena mused, "is a funny thing. Especially quantum mathematics." She sub-vocalized the command that would begin humanity's counterattack. "Let me show you what I mean." Across the solar system, quantum chaos fields began to shift. The Vicari's perfect formation suddenly found itself trying to navigate space that refused to behave according to their precise calculations. Their quantum sensors, designed to impose order and predictability on reality, started returning impossible readings. "What is this?" the Vicari commander demanded, its patterns becoming jagged with alarm. "Your quantum manipulations are crude, primitive. They cannot affect our systems." "Primitive doesn't mean ineffective," Helena replied. "You evolved past quantum uncertainty. We evolved to weaponize it." The human fleet shimmered into what passed for normal space, but they weren't ships in any way the Vicari understood. Project Dreamcatcher had transformed them into quantum probability fields shaped by human consciousness. They existed in multiple states simultaneously, their very nature defying the ordered universe the collective had built. "All ships, execute attack pattern chaos," Helena commanded. "Show them what primitive really means." The battle that followed would rewrite the collective's understanding of warfare. The human ships moved like quantum ghosts, shifting between states of existence faster than the Vicari's predictive systems could process. Their weapons didn't fire energy beams or plasma. They fired concentrated packets of quantum uncertainty that turned the Vicari's bioorganic hulls against themselves. "Impossible," the Vicari commander's transmission cut through the chaos. "Your ships are violating fundamental laws of quantum mechanics." "No." Maya's voice came through the quantum link, a smile evident in her tone. "We're just violating your understanding of those laws. Your civilization spent millennia learning to control quantum mechanics. We spent that time learning to dance with it." A Vicari cruiser tried to lock its quantum weapons on the Prometheus, its targeting systems seeking the kind of order and pattern they were designed to engage. Instead, they found a ship that existed as a cloud of probabilities, its location and state impossible to pin down. The cruiser's perfectly calibrated beam passed through empty space as the Prometheus existed, for that fraction of a second, somewhere else entirely. Helena felt the battle through her quantum-enhanced consciousness. The Vicari fleet's perfect formation was breaking down as their ships tried to compensate for conditions they were never designed to handle. Their attempts to impose order on the quantum chaos only made it worse, their own energy feeding back into the uncertainty fields. "Begin Phase 2, Helena commanded. Across the battlefield, human ships released swarms of quantum drones, tiny probability fields that carried concentrated chaos into the heart of the Vicari formation. The alien ship's bioorganic systems, dependent on quantum stability, began to fail as uncertainty corrupted their perfectly ordered processes. "This is your final warning," Helena transmitted to the increasingly desperate Vicari commander. "Your technology is advanced, but it's built on assumptions we discarded centuries ago. Leave our system, or we'll show you exactly how dangerous primitive can be." The Vicari fleet was in disarray. Ships that had never known defeat found themselves unable to target an enemy that refused to exist in any single state of reality. Weapons that could shatter planets proved useless against vessels that treated quantum uncertainty as an ally rather than an obstacle. "The collective will not accept this." The Vicari commander's transmission was fragmented, its patterns chaotic. "Your species must be corrected." "That's still not how this works," Helena replied calmly. She initiated the final phase of their defense. Throughout the solar system, quantum chaos fields began to synchronize, creating a cascade of uncertainty that would make the entire system uninhabitable to Vicari technology. "Last chance," she broadcast. "The next wave will permanently disable your quantum systems. Even if you survive, you'll never make it home." The collective spent generations eliminating quantum uncertainty from their technology. We just weaponized it. For a long moment, space itself seemed to hold its breath. Then, one by one, the Vicari ships began to retreat. Their perfect formation was gone, replaced by a scrambling withdrawal that would have been unthinkable hours before. "This is not over," the Vicari commander's final transmission came through. "The collective will not allow such dangerous deviation to continue." "You're right about one thing," Helena agreed. "This isn't over, but when you return, remember this. Humanity's primitive path led us to insights your advanced evolution never imagined. The question isn't whether we'll be ready for you next time. It's whether you'll be ready for us." As the last Vicari ship disappeared into quantum space, Helena allowed her consciousness to settle back into normal spacetime. The battle was won, but she knew this was just the beginning. The collective would return, and next time they would be prepared for humanity's quantum chaos tactics. But humanity would be ready too, because while the Vicari would try to develop countermeasures based on their ordered understanding of physics, humanity would continue to embrace chaos, to find new ways to turn uncertainty into strength. "All ships, stand down to defensive posture," Helena commanded. "Dr. Patel, begin analysis of their combat data. Next time they come, we need something even they can't predict." In the quantum fields around her ship, probability waves danced with infinite potential. The Vicari thought they had come to correct a primitive species. Instead, they had awakened something they never expected, a civilization that had turned their greatest weakness into their greatest strength. The real war hadn't even begun, but humanity had shown that sometimes the primitive path was anything but inferior. Sometimes it was simply a different kind of advanced, one that even the collective centuries of evolution hadn't prepared them to face. The human element. 2 weeks after the battle at Neptune, Maya Patel found herself in an unexpected place, a garden. Not a holographic simulation or a virtual construct, but a real garden with actual soil and living plants, tucked away in a quiet corner of the Titan research facility. She sat on a bench, watching Earth rise through the reinforced dome, while her neural implants processed combat data from the recent engagement. "I thought I'd find you here." Helena's voice came from behind her. The Admiral looked tired but satisfied as she sat down next to Maya. "The only scientist I know who insists on having real plants in a quantum physics lab." Maya smiled, touching a leaf of a nearby fern. "The Vicari would probably consider this primitive too." growing plants for aesthetic pleasure when synthetic alternatives are more efficient. The Vakari consider a lot of things primitive, Helena noted. That's why they lost their first battle in over 1,000 years. Maya's neural implants pinged with new analysis results. They're already adapting. Our quantum probes detected their ships testing new defense systems in the Oort cloud. They're trying to develop countermeasures to our chaos fields. Will they succeed? Eventually, Maya admitted. The collective isn't stupid. They'll find ways to stabilize their quantum systems against our current tactics. But that's not what worries me. She gestured, and a holographic display materialized between them, showing analysis of Vakari communication patterns during the battle. Look at this. Their responses became more erratic as the battle progressed, not just tactically, but emotionally. Their psychological profile shifted from confident superiority to something our AIs can barely categorize. Helena studied the data. They're afraid. Not exactly. It's more fundamental than that. The Vakari evolved toward perfect order, remember? Not just technologically, but psychologically. They eliminated uncertainty from their minds as well as their machines. But during the battle, our chaos fields didn't just affect their ships. They affected the Vakari themselves. Understanding dawned in Helena's eyes. We forced them to experience uncertainty again. For the first time, in maybe thousands of generations, Maya confirmed. And they didn't handle it well. That's why their retreat was so disorganized. They weren't just losing a battle. They were experiencing emotions and doubts their evolution had supposedly eliminated. She stood, walking to a small pool where quantum-modified koi fish swam in patterns that defied normal physics. The collective will return with better technology, but they can't evolve fast enough to handle what that technology will do to their psychology. You think we broke them. I think we showed them something they never expected, that their perfect evolution has left them vulnerable in ways they never imagined. Human consciousness is messy. Admiral, we feel fear and doubt, but we also feel hope and determination. We get scared, but we keep fighting. The Vakari. She paused, searching for the right words. They forgot how to be afraid. And now they're remembering. Helena was quiet for a moment, watching the quantum koi create impossible ripples in the pool. Can we use that? We already are. Maya's neural implants projected new data. Designs for the next generation of quantum chaos weapons. We're not just developing better technology. We're developing technology that targets the gap between what the Vakari became and what they used to be. Every time they fight us, they'll face not just tactical uncertainty, but psychological uncertainty. The more they try to impose order on chaos, the more chaos will seep into their minds. That sounds almost cruel, Helena observed. Maybe, Maya agreed. But it's also necessary. The collective isn't just trying to conquer us. They're trying to force us to evolve along their path, to eliminate everything that makes us human. Our chaos, our uncertainty, our emotions. These aren't weaknesses to be corrected. They're the source of our strength. She touched her neural implants, feeling the quantum fields that connected her consciousness to the facility's systems. Look at how we integrated technology with our biology. We didn't try to eliminate our messy human consciousness. We enhanced it. We didn't try to impose perfect order on quantum mechanics. We learned to dance with chaos. The Vakari saw our path as primitive because they couldn't imagine evolution leading anywhere but their version of perfection. An alert pulsed through their quantum network, long-range sensors detecting more Vakari scout ships testing Earth's defenses. Maya smiled grimly. They'll be back soon. With better ships, better weapons, better defenses. But they won't be ready for what those improvements will do to them. And what's that? Force them to confront the price of their evolution. Every time they adapt to our chaos fields, their technology will become a little less ordered, a little more like ours. And every time that happens, cracks will appear in their perfect psychological evolution. They'll start feeling things they haven't felt in thousands of years. Doubt, fear, hope, anger. The full spectrum of consciousness they thought they'd evolved beyond. Helena stood, her uniform rippling with quantum distortions as her own neural implants processed the implications. You're saying we won't just fight them technologically. We'll fight them psychologically. We already are. Every engagement with our forces pushes them further from their perfect order. They'll either have to retreat and abandon their attempts to correct us, or they'll have to become more like us. Helena finished. More chaotic, more human. Maya nodded, watching her quantum koi create impossible patterns in the water. They thought they were coming to fix us, to guide us toward their version of perfection. Instead, we're showing them that their perfect evolution has led them into a dead end. That sometimes the primitive path, the path that embraces chaos and uncertainty and emotion, is the path that leads to true advancement. The garden fell silent except for the soft sound of water. Above them, Earth continued its eternal dance through space, its quantum-shrouded defenses invisible but ever-present. Somewhere out there, the collective was preparing its next move, trying to develop countermeasures to humanity's chaos weapons. But they couldn't counter the real weapon, the human element that made those chaos weapons possible. The messy, emotional, unpredictable consciousness that could look into the quantum void and see not disorder to be controlled, but potential to be embraced. We should get back to work, Maya said finally. The collective won't wait forever. As they left the garden, Maya's quantum koi continued their impossible dance, creating ripples that defied physics, a small reminder that sometimes the most primitive things could conceal the most profound truths. The Vakari were about to learn that lesson, whether they wanted to or not. Evolution's child. The final battle began not with weapons, but with a signal. 3 months after their first defeat, the Vakari collective returned to Sol system. This time, their fleet numbered in the thousands, their bioorganic ships evolved to resist quantum chaos. But something was different. Their perfect formation showed subtle imperfections, tiny variations that would have been unthinkable before their encounters with humanity. Admiral Helena Chen stood on the Prometheus's quantum-shifted bridge. Her consciousness expanded through neural interfaces that let her perceive reality on multiple levels simultaneously. Through quantum-enhanced senses, she could see the microscopic flaws in the Vakari's approach, signs that their ordered evolution was beginning to crack. They're requesting communication, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported. But the quantum signature, it's unlike anything we've seen from them before. Helena nodded. Put them through. The holographic representation that appeared was not the crystalline perfection they'd come to expect from Vakari communication. Instead, the beam's form shifted and flowed with almost human-like uncertainty, its pattern suggesting emotions that should have been evolved away generations ago. Admiral Chen. The beam's voice carried undertones that their AI struggled to categorize. I am High Commander Vex of the Collective. We need to talk. Helena studied the commander's unstable form. About what? About evolution. About chaos. About what your species has done to us. The beam's pattern swirled with what might have been anger or fear or something entirely new. Your quantum chaos weapons, they didn't just affect our ships. They affected us, changed us, made us remember things we spent millennia trying to forget. Maya's voice came through Helena's neural link. Their quantum patterns are fascinating. Admiral, the chaos fields have triggered some kind of psychological cascade effect. They're experiencing emotional states their species hasn't felt in thousands of generations. We know, Vex said, surprising them with the admission. Your weapons forced uncertainty back into our perfectly ordered minds, made us feel doubt, fear, hope, emotions we thought we'd evolved beyond. The collective is fracturing. Admiral, some want to destroy your species before you can spread this contamination further. Others, the beam's form flickered. Others are beginning to question whether our path of evolution was as perfect as we believed. Helena exchanged quantum pulses with Maya, sharing thoughts faster than words could convey. And which group are you with, Commander? Neither. Both. I, Vex's form destabilized further. I don't know. And that uncertainty terrifies and excites me in ways I never thought possible. Your species, you didn't just resist our attempt to correct your evolution. You showed us that our own evolution had become a dead end. Through her quantum senses, Helena could see the HFY fleet's formation continuing to shift, reflecting the psychological chaos affecting its commanders. Their perfect order was breaking down, but something new was emerging from the chaos. We thought we had achieved perfection, Vex continued. Eliminated uncertainty from our technology, our bodies, our minds. But your species showed us something we had forgotten. That true evolution isn't about eliminating chaos. It's about learning to thrive within it. Maya's consciousness brushed against Helena's through the quantum link. They're ready, she sent. The question is, are we? Helena understood. This moment would determine not just humanity's future, but the course of evolution for both species. What are you proposing, Commander? A new path. Vex's form stabilized slightly, finding a balance between order and chaos. Not your way, not our way, but something new. Your species has mastered technologies we thought impossible because you never tried to eliminate quantum uncertainty. We have achieved things you can barely imagine because we learned to impose order on reality. Perhaps true evolution lies somewhere between. Through her neural interface, Helena received updates from Earth Command. The quantum chaos fields were ready, capable of disabling the entire HFY fleet if necessary. But she sensed that victory would mean something very different today. You're proposing cooperation, she asked, after trying to forcibly correct our evolution. I'm proposing survival, Vex replied. The collective's perfect evolution has become stagnation. We forgot that true advancement requires both order and chaos, certainty and doubt, stability and change. Your species reminded us of this truth in the most painful way possible. The being's form shifted again, expressing something that might have been humility. We came to guide you along our path. Instead, you showed us that our path was incomplete. Helena felt the weight of the moment, the quantum fields around her ship swimming with possibility. And the rest of the collective? Will they accept this? Some already have. Others will resist. That's the beauty of uncertainty, isn't it? Not knowing the outcome, but moving forward anyway. It's a lesson we're learning to appreciate again. Vex's pattern stabilized into something new. Neither the perfect order of before nor complete chaos, but a harmonious dance between the two. We offer an exchange. Our knowledge of ordered quantum mechanics for your insights into chaos theory. Your emotional wisdom for our technological precision. Through the quantum network, Maya's excitement was palpable. Think of what we could learn from each other, she sent. Their ordered approach combined with our chaos theory. We could revolutionize our understanding of reality itself. Helena smiled. And what guarantee do we have that this isn't a trick? That you won't try to correct us again once you've learned our secrets? None, Vex admitted. And that uncertainty is precisely the point. We can't go back to perfect order any more than you would abandon chaos. But perhaps together we can find a new kind of evolution, one that embraces both. The quantum fields around them hummed with potential as two civilizations stood at a crossroads. Humanity had not just defended itself. It had shown an ancient and powerful species that their version of perfection was merely one path among many. That sometimes the primitive path, the chaotic path, the uncertain path, was the one that led to true advancement. Very well, Commander, Helena said finally. Let's talk about evolution. As the negotiations began, Maya's voice came through the quantum link one last time. You know what this means, don't you? We didn't just survive their attempt to correct us. We ended up correcting them. Helena watched the HFY fleet's formation continue to shift and change, reflecting their species' first steps toward a new kind of evolution. No, she replied. We showed them that true evolution never ends. That perfection isn't about eliminating chaos or uncertainty, but about learning to dance with them. Above Earth, two civilizations began the delicate process of learning from each other. The Vicari would never return to their perfect order, and humanity would never abandon its chaos. But together, they might find something even more remarkable, an evolution that combined the best of both paths, proving once and for all that the most primitive path sometimes led to the most profound destination.